Welcome to the Quintin Moore Podcast.
Hey, thanks for jumping by again. This is the fourth podcast on the subject of goals. I'm doing it right now because I really believe that goals are the things that you can make a decision to do, particularly at the beginning of a year, that will have huge benefits for you throughout the year. That I really believe you'll come to the end of a season in your life and go, wow. We used to write goals down and put them on our refrigerator. And all of our children knew what those goals were. And they really knew that we were going to say no to some things because we were reaching for these goals. And it was really a great way to discipline our family and our children as to why we weren't going to go there because we wanted to go to Disneyland. And so we were able to discipline our lives based on the identified goals that a group of us called our family were able to hold. So goals are not just for you. Goals are for your spouse or for your children or for your family. And they'll even help your extended family understand why you're not going there, you're not doing this, that you have to spend time at home this week because you're trying to work on your own development. So I really appreciate you coming by. Hope this is being beneficial to you. Last week I told you there were 4 reasons why people did not set goals. There's 4 basic reasons why 97% of Americans do not set goals. So I'm going to try to wrap that up this week. God told you have to write these things down. You have to identify the benefits. You have to know the skills that you need to do it. You have to identify the obstacles. You have to identify the people that you need to help you do it. You have to have a plan of action, and you have to know when it's going to be done. Why? What are the 4 things that keep people from writing goals? Well, number 1, it's fear. They're just afraid. Number 2, they have such a poor self-image they can't see themselves in that picture of accomplishing that goal. And number 3, they just haven't committed to it. They just haven't sold out to it. They haven't bought into it, and so they don't do it. But the big reason why people do not establish goals is they just don't know how. I have people all the time step up and say, Quintin, how do you do this? I hope that if you've been following along with me, I've got you at least writing some things down and that you're asking yourself some questions and you're trying to narrow down that great big dream list into several things and several areas of your life that you can work on. So I'm going to talk to you this time about, okay, how do I do this? This is the nuts and bolts about how you have a goal setting program. And so I'm going to try to help you that. See, a goal that is properly set is partially achieved. If you get the goal set properly, you're really just really a third of the way of accomplishing that goal. It'll take a little time. Now listen to me. It's going to take a little more time than these 10, 12-minute sessions that we're having. But if you'll spend the time up front, it'll save you time throughout the year. And you'll actually begin to do this almost systematically. So there is a setting, there is a formula kind of for this. There's kind of a procedure. And number 1, I had you start the very first time we were together, and that was to take a piece of paper. I use different notebooks, write down everything you want to be, write down everything you want to do, write down everything you want to have. Now you got that, right? You write that down. What this really does is it makes you use the left side of your brain and you identify these things. And what you don't realize is that when you do this with the left side of your brain, it releases the right side of your brain to be creative to accomplish what you've identified. So if you do the time up front, it'll save you time on the back side of it. It's just the fundamentals. I mean, from all of my reading, Michael Jordan, maybe the second greatest basketball player of all time. Some argue first. Anyway, I think he's a number 1 of all time. He had 10 spots on the floor, and every day he went to each one of those spots and he shot that ball 1,000 times from that spot. He identified those things and he practiced and he followed through with them. He was very disciplined in his process. So you've written them down. Now you got them. Now wait about a couple days and then go back to each one of those things that you've written down. And again, it's going to take time. Ask yourself, Why do I want to be that? Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to have that? Again, you got to focus in on this, because life is like a cafeteria and there's a lot to choose from. Life is not like a cafeteria in the sense that you got to pay for it. So go through the process, and sometimes you got to say no to what's good in order to have what's best. There's a lot of things on the line that it's good, but it's not the best. I mean, I know a lot of people that make good pecan pie, but Martha Hill makes the best pecan pie. So you go down through each one of them and you recognize, and if you don't do that, this failure to focus in will lead you to frustration, and you'll just scratch this whole process. So you got to focus, you got to pay attention, because unrealistic expectations is the seedbed of all depression. There's a stat that I read some time ago. It says that a 20-year-old male is 10% more likely to be depressed than his 40-year-old father. And the same 20-year-old male is 20% more likely to be depressed than his 60-year-old grandfather. Why? Well, because 20-year-olds have these unrealistic expectations. And the older you get, the more you realize that your expectations have to come in line with the reality in which you live. Some goals have to be super big. Some goals, they keep you in a game. They're great big goals. If you're Tom Brady, you want to win the 7th ring. I mean, they're just great big goals. Some of those goals are long range. You know, I go on airplanes quite a bit, and I've been on some airplanes that took off and there was weather and they had to turn around and come back. Well, you don't want those setbacks to keep you from getting back on the plane. Just because you had to turn around and come back doesn't mean you don't keep pursuing the goal. So some goals are long range, and you may have to turn around and go back, but listen to me, I'm going to get back on a plane because I like the beaches in Miami. I don't mind the wheat fields in Kansas, but the beaches in Miami are not bad, right? So just because there's weather between here and there, just because there's bumps in accomplishing the goal, doesn't mean I don't keep pursuing them. Some goals are long range. They got obstacles in front. Some goals are short range. They're today. I got up and got on the treadmill today. And I do those things that have to be done. So some goals are small. They take discipline. Some goals you have to overcome the obstacles, but they're ongoing. Goals always have to have consultants. Listen, I've got 4 or 5 friends in my life, and I'm talking to them about my goals, and I'm asking them, why am I doing this? Do I have the skills to do this? Was this just a storm that we had to turn around, come back, try again? Is this a short-term goal that I need to be more disciplined, have better habits to accomplish? Those kinds of questions. Do I have measurable outcomes? Are they specific enough? So I asked several basic questions here, and that is this really my goal? Is it morally right and fair to everyone if I accomplish it? Does reaching this goal take me closer to my life's purpose? Can I emotionally commit to it? You know, some people are so emotionally disconnected. Just stop right there. If you're not passionate about it, then I'm committed to this podcast. Let me tell you, this is a new format for me in many, many ways. But I'm committed to getting this material to you. Wished I could tell you how much time, money, and effort that I spent going to seminars, reading the books that are over my shoulder. And now that I can sit in front of this camera, you can turn on your phone and listen to this. Do you understand that you're getting, by podcast, what I spent years reading about? What I spent thousands of dollars going to some of the greatest seminars that hanging around people, because 30 plus years ago, we didn't have Google. You couldn't do this. The first set of goal setting tapes that I got were 8 tracks. 8 tracks. You don't even know what that is. I get it. But you got to be committed to this. If you're not sold out to setting goals, to asking the questions, to identifying things in your life. So you got to be committed to it. And then you got to see yourself reaching it. You got to really be able to see yourself in the goal, being that person. doing those things, owning those things, writing in those things. That's just very important. Goals can be out of reach, but they have to be in sight. You have to be able to see them. They're big, but if they're too big, they'll become negative on you. So when you achieve these goals, I'm just recapping a little bit. When you achieve these goals, will you be happy? Will you be healthy? Will you be more prosperous? Will you be secure? Will you have more friends? And when your friendships be better, will you have peace of mind? Is your family going to be blessed? Is it going to give you hope? Those are the kinds of things you need to ask you. So some goals are big, long range. Some things are daily and they're ongoing. Just think about it. One of the last things I want to say to you is you need goals in about 8 areas of your life. You need goals in your spirituality. How's your spiritual life doing? You need goals in your career. You need goals in just your social life. Where are you playing? What do you do for recreation? What do you do for fun? You need goals there. You need goals financially. Listen, I hear it all the time. People tell me it's not about money. Yes, it is. It's about money. While the government's talking about Medicaid, Medicare, and retirement, save your money. It is about financial goals. You got to have goals in your family time. You got to have goals physically. You got to have goals in your mental health. You got to have a balanced goal setting. If you could imagine with me for a minute, if you could imagine a wagon wheel with spokes, so it's your spirituality, it's it's your family, it's your career, and those all have to move together. And if they don't move together, you could be great at your career, you could be great in your learning process and your mental development, but you'd be flat over here. What's a flat tire? Your life won't. So when I talk to you about setting goals, I'm talking to you about identifying those 7 major areas of your life and having a set of goals in each one of those areas and accomplish them in a balanced fashion. So you have a balanced goal setting idea in your life. If you don't, you'll accomplish 1 or 2 spokes, but you won't have a balance. Listen, there are give up goals. There are give up goals. You give them up. You share them with everybody. You talk about them. But then there are go up goals. I made a mistake a long time ago, and I would set goals. Frankly, I'd have dreams from the Lord about what God wanted to do in my life, and they were huge. It's kind of like Joseph, and you'd share those goals with too many people. If you share the go up goals with too many people, they can actually harm you. So there's some goals that you just tell the world, because then there's some goals you just share them carefully, would you? So there's two different kinds of goals. One of the best things I ever heard is if you do what you need to do when you need to do it, you'll be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. I've been setting goals all my life. My dad talked to me about setting goals. My best friend for the last 30 years has helped me set goals. My wife committed to setting goals. Goal setting is not, well, I'm going to try this for 60 days and see how it works. No, goals, people that have faith ought to be setting goals. I have faith in a God that has planned and purposed in my life a hope and a future. I believe in Jesus. And because I believe in Jesus, I have goals for eternity. I have goals for generations that are succeeding me. People of faith ought to be the best goal setters in the world. Because listen, we've been promised eternity. We've been promised that the God of heaven and earth, that the presence of God lives on the inside of us, that there is nothing that's impossible for us, that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Philippians 4:13. Listen, the best thing that ever happened in my life is Jesus. When Jesus came into my heart, I gave my heart to the Lord, hope began to just bust out, and I began to realize if I'd set goals, there was nothing out of sight for me. If you do the things you need to do when you need to do them, you'll be able to do the things you want to do when you want to do them. People of faith ought to be setting goals. We ought to be setting goals for generations to come. We ought to be, listen, David made plans to build a temple that he would never construct, but his son Solomon did. David set the goals, prepared for things for his son and his grandsons to complete. You may be listening to me, and I'm kind of ashamed of the church. The church has thought that teachers were going to do it, that parents were going to do it, and they're not doing it. So the church ought to be crying out, saying, listen, the Father had a goal, and that was you. And he sent his son so that you could be a part of his family. You can set goals. You can write them down. You can ask yourself some questions, and you can accomplish the greater things in your life. And we'll close with this. Number one reason why people fail at setting goals is a lack of discipline. They just don't discipline themselves. They never change habits. Make it a habit. I take my smartphone, I take my phone and my goals for all 7 areas are on my phone. Every morning when I get up and I do my prayer time, I read my goals. I keep them in front of me. And I rehearse them over and over, and I'm adjusting and working through them. So goals are not just something I do and move on. They continually direct and give me focus and empower me. Number one reason why people don't achieve their goals is a lack of discipline. They don't develop the habits that cause them to stay focused on the things that God has called them to be, to do, and to have. I started these podcasts by asking a question. Is there something you can do to really blow up your life? Is there something you could do that would really help your life? Is the choice yours? If it is, the answer to that is yes. Then you could sit down, take a piece of paper, and begin to write them down. Begin to identify who it is you want to be, what it is you want to do, what it is you want to have. I hope this has been helpful to you. I've been really pouring my heart into this. Again, I think this is like 4 sessions we've tried to put out there. You can go back and listen to all 4 of them. They're short, they're concise. You can come on to my blog. It's QuintinMoore.com. I think you can do hello at QuintinMoore.com. I believe the notes are there. You can download them. You can look back through them. You might have to listen to this conversation again. It wouldn't help you to listen to this 2 or 3 times. Maybe listen to it with a friend. Look at the notes. Stop. Write the goals down. Come back. Back me up. Listen to it again. So that's hello at QuintinMoore.com. If you got questions, if you'll email me those questions, in some of the following podcasts, I'll try to interact with you a little bit and answer those questions. Listen, the next year of your life can change your entire world. It can alter if you make some goals, set your faith at them, believe in them. Thanks for stopping by. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Quintin Moore Podcast. You can connect with Quintin online at QuintinMoore.com or on social media using @BishopQuintin.